There's a lot of Commander Precons out there, and that's why we've got this video to tell you which Commander Precons are most worth buying right now.
I'm Mia, and I'm going to drink my third energy drink soon.
I'm BZ, I'm not sleeping today, and that's because we're the Nitpicking Nerds, and we have such great deals to show you from CardKingdom.com, one of our many sponsors. We love them. They have great website, great card, perfect vibe.
We love you, Card Kingdom, and all of the prices that you're going to see today are from Card Kingdom. So check them out. Use our link. Tell them we sent you because we would love that, and they would love you. We're also sponsored by Dragon Shield, best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
If you use the code
NERDS
at checkout, you could save 5% of your minimum tax dollars on your entire order, which includes the Lagoon sleeves that you see here. These are not actual size, though. They're a lot smaller in real life.
Your size may vary for the Lagoon sleeves that you order. And want to shout out our patrons, because you guys are awesome. Even if I can't pronounce the name, you still keep the lights on, and we appreciate every single one of you. We are working on more Patreon perks, so stay tuned for that. And bonus, if you want to become a channel member, there's an exclusive vlog and a long-form wavelength video that we just uploaded from Atlanta.
Check it out. It's super awesome. It was super fun to make, and let us know if you want more.
So today we are going over 5 precons that we think are extremely good values. Not all for the same reason. There's a bunch of different reasons we like all of these. Some of them are better upgraded. Some of them are better out of the box, but they are all a very good price right now. I think we're living in a world with less precons, and so I want to get back to the ones that are, exceptional, that stand out, because we're not getting precons that often anymore.
Even though we're slated for less precons in the near future, we still had some banging ones in the last couple years. The first one I was super excited to play. It played awesome out of the box. It is Jeskai Striker, the face commander Shiko and Narset unified. 1 blue, red, white for a 4/4 flying vigilance. When you cast your second spell each turn, copy it if it targets a permanent or a player, and you can choose new targets for the copy. If you don't copy a spell this way, you draw a card. This is an awesome way to be able to sling spells, you get card draw, use multiple types of removal because you're going to be pinging multiple targets, and you can just use these cheap spells and chain them over and over.
Yeah, this deck is really good at actually hitting Flurry, which usually requires one really cheap spell like a Preordain or something, or Faithless Looting, and then one slam dunk spell that's like a 4 or 5 mana thing. It targets multiple things. You're copying it, you're drawing cards off of it, and that's where this deck really starts chugging along and picking up steam. It definitely has a snowball effect. When we were playing also with the other Tarkir Dragonstorm Precons against this was winning pretty consistently, and just having a 4/4 Flying Vigilance gets you a ton of chip damage. That's going to happen, I think, in any game where Shiko and Narset stays out.
This deck was really fun to play. It was awesome because of the consistency, and it's $45 right now. I feel like a lot of the Dragonstorm Precons were kind of fluctuating for a while, but I'm happy it settled so cheaply because it has such good value in it. The total value of cards is $120.
Yeah, we are always expecting the total value of cards to be somewhat like at least 2x what the precon is, but you can go through the ratios of the precons we have here and maybe ones we've done in the past and just compare that for you. But I think it's okay. It's one of the better ones on here. Average mana value 3.13, so it's not even that clunky of a deck. Happy to have that, especially when we're trying to flurry.
But let's talk about some of the awesome cards we see in this deck. The first one being Haughty Djinn. We play this in a lot of our budget spell slinger decks, but he's awesome because we have so many cheap spells to be throwing around, and he's going to be very big. Once those board stalls happen, especially with precon decks where board stalls often happen, a big flyer in the air is really going to help chip and damage.
Yeah, I've gotten pretty good chips with him. He gets bigger and he sort of scales with the game, so even if you draw him late, well, normally Goblin Electromancer, which is also in the deck and it's also good. Goblin Electromancer is a pretty rough draw on turn 8, but with Haughty Djinn, it's like, oh cool, I have an 8/4 flyer. I'll use that part of the card and beat people up that way. There's also Time Wipe, which I think is great. This deck does not overload on creatures, which is good because it's a spell slinger deck, flurrying non-creatures specifically, a lot of things going on there. But Time Wipe's going to pick up Shiko and Narset. You just wipe everything else, you don't care. And then you get to next turn, play Shiko and Narset as your first spell, and then get right back to the races with the second spell that targets something.
Yeah, with these board wipes, I feel like there's going to be, with these 4-mana commanders and board wipes being in a lot of the precons and a lot of decks that we see, that tax starts to add up after a while. So being able to bounce your commander, bring it back, and then play it for its original cost is really going to help you outpace your opponents.
Yeah, and then Rite of Replication. This is just the hammer of the deck. Probably the best targeting spell that it comes included, because you're going to kick it most every time because that's so much more value than just paying 4 for it. And you're going to get 10 copies of something, or you're going to actually, you could mix and match if you want. You're going to get 5 copies of one thing, and I think you can choose a second thing with choosing new targets when you copy it. So yeah, that's going to be probably enough to win the game if it has any sort of ETB or immediate effect at all.
Rite of Replication is just a fun card overall too. I like putting cards in here because not board wipes aren't always the most fun thing, but they're necessary for all the board stalls and trying to break through. But Rite of Replication, not only can you copy something very powerful, but it's also just a fun spell because you have such a wide range of targets that differ from game to game.
Yeah, and like you said, with board wipes, they are necessary to have, and a lot of precons just don't have that many, especially some of the old ones. I've reviewed too many precons to even count at this point, and half of them just don't have board wipes. They're much better now, and we see now, well, there's 2 things. 1, the older a precon gets, the more expensive it gets, and then 2, the higher quality is, the more expensive it gets. So it's just like precons now I feel like are more expensive than they've ever been, but these ones I think are still a very, very good deal given that climate.
We're paying for a premium, but they're more like decks that we would actually build out of our collection, out of things that we are actually making. And I think that I'm happy to pay that premium if it means I'm not just getting a cluster of 100 cards, but I'm getting a cluster of 100 curated cards that work together well.
Yeah, it's like, should you go buy the Ur-Dragon precon? No, never. That deck was trashy. The mana base was terrible, but it's like, I bet that deck is at least $200 right now, just for reasons, non-gameplay reasons. But we are talking about playing with the cards, the value of the cards. Like, are these decks worth it? These ones are. Some of the worst cards, though, I like poking a little fun at the worst cards. We are the nitpicking nerds. Cards you might want to take out if you're upgrading. Curse of Opulence, it's a curse, so it does target a person, so you could get a copy of it. But is that what this deck's trying to do? Probably not.
Yeah, it's a cheap spell, and yeah, I guess it could be your second spell, but I feel like there are a lot better things to be doing, especially when a lot of your creatures rely on instants and sorceries to be cast or in the graveyard, or, some combination of that. There's also Ghostly Prison. That is a channel stinker that we like to not include in a lot of our decks, and we like to take it out of a lot. It's just, I'm not big of this pillow fort type thing. You have offense, you have flyers, you can chip in. You don't need, and also with your commander, it has vigilance.
Yep.
You can keep it back as a blocker and also attack with it.
Yeah, that's going to keep a lot of the 2/2 and 3/3 flyers at bay. They're not going to come after you if you have Shiko and Narset. I just if you're someone at Wizards of the Coast responsible for making precons, and you like seeing us just get a slightly bit agitated, just keep on putting Ghostly Prison in, and then just keep on putting Windfall in, because that'll give us stuff to talk about for years.
We love talking about how those don't go in most decks.
They probably don't, yeah.
There's also Tempest Technique. I just feel like this is just wrong for this deck overall. You know?
This is an aura, and it cares about enchantments that you control. We only have 5 in here, and we already want to take out 2 of the other ones that we just talked about, the Opulence, Curse, and Ghostly Prison. So we're left with very few. It already has Storm. So cards with Storm are usually not that good to copy with Narset and Shiko because you only get 1 more, and you're already getting 2 or 3. So I just I don't see it. This is a plant for some other enchantment deck, but just not for Flurry, really. You could put it on Narset and Shiko and get in. That's only going to work once, though.
Yeah, and that will just make your commander that much more of a target for removal. But let's talk about the good cards, the valuable cards here. The most valuable cards, because there's multiple, are Will of the Jeskai and Veyran, Voice of Duality, both sitting at $8.50. Veyran hadn't gotten a reprint in a hot minute, so I'm very happy to see him in a precon. And Will of the Jeskai was a cycle of new wills that came out with the Dragonstar precons.
Yeah, and a lot of these precons, you'll see that when we review them now, they're worth less, in theory, than they were when they came out, because they have been reprinting many, many good cards. And guess what? Those cards go down in value, which is exactly what we want. This is a good job of all these precons. They are worth, they look less shiny than they did when they first came out, but that's because the reprints were so good. And now we can get them for, in some cases, less than they even debuted for. Like with this one at only $45. I think it was $50 when it first came out.
But I'm happy it's less shiny now because we have played around with it. We can kind of go, oh yeah, it's not new anymore. How did we actually think about it? And we remember this one very fondly. Even though it wasn't the best precon from Tarkir Dragonstorm, it was the strongest out of all of the 5. It won consistently within those pods, and we had a lot of fun playing it.
Yeah, this was only number 3 in that video out of 5, but it fell short because of, I think, partially reprint value. But now it's holding strong, and it's standing out from the others because of the price. It's not ridiculous, and this is a very functional deck that I'm very happy with. It does not have chaff, really, aside from a couple, a handful of cards that are enchantments that we don't need. But it doesn't play too many creatures. I've seen many Spellslinger decks in the past where they're just 28 creatures, and you're just Where are my spells? How am I supposed to make anything happen?
I'm happy that we can have a deck that plays more instants and sorceries. They're cheap too. We're not playing those big splashy ones where we wouldn't be able to get that second spell out of our hand and actually play. This deck feels right.
Yeah, if you look at my favorite example of a clunky deck, unfortunately for you, was the Kalia Precon.
Oh, that wasn't a good Precon.
The average mana value was like 5, and I don't want to see stuff like that. This has really efficient stuff. Deep Analysis is a card I play all the time in these Spellslinger decks because, they figured out and they know that, hey, when you have an Electromancer or a Reducer out, you can play it for 3 to draw 2 and then 1 to flash it back. And now we're targeting and we're flurrying and it's really, really good. So there's a lot of good decisions made when building this deck, and you don't have to do a lot to it. You could make a few great upgrades, I'm sure, by cutting those 3 enchantments for the 3 best cards in your collection that target, but you don't need to, and I like that a lot about this deck.
But we're moving on to the second deck. This is one that I am super excited to see because it features something that a lot of Precons don't talk about usually, lands. This is the World Shaper one out of Edge of Eternities. Usually new ones don't make the list because new and shiny equals the price is still way up there, but this one has gone down enough or maybe just stayed down enough where we are happy to pick it up at that price. The face commander is Hearthhole, the World Seed. 1 black, green, red for a 6/7 with station, so he's not a creature all the time. If you station him for 2, you could pay 1, tap, and sack a land. You draw 2 cards, and you can play an additional land this turn. If you station him for 8 or above, he becomes the 6/7 flying vigilance hasty commander that says, when you sack a land, each opponent loses 2 life. Sacking lands in a Precon? That would have been unheard of 10 years ago.
This is a very unique Precon, so it already has that going for it, where there's not really any other Precons that have ever been like this. So you're even just getting this, you're not just getting a carbon copy, like you're not just getting another black, green, X graveyard deck. It's like, this is a land sacrifice. Like, you're actively chucking your lands into the bin, especially for that last mode on Hearthhole. Really, really sweet. You want to obtain a ton of value, fill the graveyard, and then the last thing you're going to do once you sack them all is return them to the battlefield, possibly to sack them all over again. And the fact that Hearthhole gives you that win condition, it's not a primary win condition, but a way to deal non-combat damage by doing the thing your deck wants to do the most, that's really strong. The price is only $50 for what we're getting in terms of uniqueness, cohesion, and just a little bit of spice that we haven't seen a lot in past Precons. There's just spice in here. I put extra cards down for the best cards because this deck was sweet. Average mana value 3.51. That's right where we were expecting a Precon to be.
Let's talk about the best cards though, because we have a lot to go over, more than some of the other ones. The first one being the first reprint of Aftermath Analyst. This card is awesome. He comes down as a creature, he mills you, and then when you sack him, you return all the lands back from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. He has been such a stunner in my Uro deck. You have him in
it's just a crazy
maybe
card.
a Carador deck.
I have him in everything. He's so good.
He's so good. He's so solid. I highly recommend you put him in any deck that cares about having lands in the graveyard and then bringing them back later.
Yeah, Exploration Broodship, or should I say Exploration, because all we need to do is station this thing up just a little bit, and then it's just extra land every single turn. We're going to have cards that say play lands from your graveyard, and then from that point, it just gets really out of control. You might have to add those lands from graveyard cards to the deck a little bit, but you get what I'm saying. This thing just starts churning and churning, and your opponents go, oh, you're getting a bunch of advantage, and you're not paying a real cost. I'm going to lose.
The Gitrog monster is also in here. You might know him from helming his own deck of lands and being very scary, but in the 99, he's just as scary because you can get him out faster than you expect because you are ramping very fast in this deck, and then getting all that advantage with drawing cards and then sacking the lands and having a way to be able to do that. Gitrog is disgusting, and I love to see it in here.
That's so weird that we are on the same wavelength, because I was going to say the card's disgusting. Yes. Even just baseline, you can do the classic trick of, I have too many cards in my hand, go to my cleanup step, discard down to hand size, Gitrog triggers because you discard a land, and you can do infinite cleanups if you want. You're going to have lands, but that just helps get these lands in your graveyard, makes Aftermath Analyst go off, and there's a lot of stuff. I mean, if you want to get a discard outlet and a dredged land, cool, you can go infinite there, but probably this is just going to draw you a bajillion cards, be a must-answer threat, and win the game if you even untap with it once. I think it's just going to bury them in card advantage. And another new card from this deck that's fantastic and works really well with Aftermath Analyst and returning lands is Horizon Explorer. Another edition, another version of lands you control enter untapped. But this one is like really affordable.
Yeah, I was super excited to also put this in Uro, and I thought it was going to be way more expensive because it was a Precon only card, but I'm so happy to see it in that budget range where it is easy to pick up a copy. I thought this was going to be like $10 or $12, honestly.
I wonder if they changed how the booster packs represent Precon cards. Maybe they're just a little bit more plentiful, because I can't think of a ton of like crazy spikes that happened from Precon cards in the last like year and a half.
Yeah, I feel like some of them spiked in like the beginning and then they floated down a little. Maybe that has to do with the collector boosters having more precon cards in them.
And talking about the worst cards in the deck, there really weren't that many. Even the ones that I'm about to read, you can understand where they're coming from. Urg Spawn of Turg, it's just a slow sack outlet. I don't really care too much that its power is big. This deck kind of just goes over the top. I don't even think it needs to attack that often. It's just going to burn people out with Hearthall's last ability. And then Formless Genesis, this one's understated. 3 mana for a vanilla creature, even if it is big, even if I can mill over it and cast it later and repeatedly cast it, like that's never where you're going to want to spend mana with this deck. Even if you have 10 lands in play, I'm not going to want to make a 6/6 for 3.
We only had 2 worst cards in here because the deck is so good out of the box. The most valuable card is Fabled Passage at $7. Very easy to keep in here because it's so good with your deck, or throw it into a different deck if you prefer.
Yeah, there's a couple like $3, $4 cards in here. This was another one that did take some other cards that were previously creeping up and kept them down where we wanted them. So like if you're looking to like flip the deck, this is probably not the one for you, but you get a Fabled Passage out of it. This is just, the thing that makes this deck so special is this is just a full deck. I don't think you need to do anything. This is going to hang with bracket 2, bracket 2.5, and maybe even slower bracket 3 decks with no problem. The only thing that you maybe want to upgrade is you could add free land sack outlets, and that alone will just take the deck to this a whole nother level. It'll just be obnoxious, but it's already so strong, and that's refreshing to see. You don't need anything. Some decks upgrade very well, and that gives them points when we do the reviews. This doesn't need anything.
Hearthall is also just a legendary artifact when he comes down. He's not a creature, so until you want him to be a creature, he won't be. So the different types of removal need to be used on him. You can't Swords or Path him if you haven't stationed him, which makes him a little bit trickier to remove off the field than other commanders.
And it just gives you everything you need. You don't have to draw a sack outlet because it is the sack outlet. You don't have to worry too much about card advantage because it is card advantage. You just need to have lands and a couple payoffs to make sure that you can keep the mana flowing. Maybe make them untap with the Horizon Explorer. This deck just, it asks nothing of you. It's like, hey, here's a full deck and you've never seen it before at the Precons. And we're like, yeah, okay, cool.
Oh, before we move on to the next one, this deck also has Planetary Annihilation in it, which we didn't even mention in the best cards because it's a very good one. It removes people's lands, but it's not mass land destruction in the way where people can't play. It leaves everyone with 6. It's a new card in here, and I highly recommend you try it if you have been curious about it.
You know what's upsetting? I haven't cast that card yet, and I've put it in multiple decks.
Have you?
We're going to Command Fest Vegas, and I'm going to cast that card if it's the last thing I do.
You're going to tutor for it just to cast it?
Yes, I'm going to demonic tutor for Planetary Annihilation. And if you're demonic tutoring for your Planetary Annihilation, but you can't remember if you put it in your deck, do you know what's faster than picking up your entire deck and thumbing through it at a very slow pace because there's too many cards to look at? Going to Moxfield, quickly using the visual grid layout, go foop, foop, oh, there it is. Okay, I do have it. Or there it isn't. I don't have it. I better search for something else. That type of thing, I'm not going to get with Redacted website. It's a little slow. It's a little clunky. There's ads everywhere. I can't see what I'm doing. Moxfield's great.
Moxfield is the best because they have a Wizards of the Coast account where if you want to see any unedited version of a precon, like these, you can go there and you don't have to see like user 123's precon with 20 extra cards in it. You will get the list and the printings of when they came out from this. Go to Moxfield, check it out, also follow us.
And we're going to Family Matters, the next commander. The face commander here is Zinnia, Valley's Voice. This is from Bloomborough, which had a nice batch of precons. This is red, white, blue for a 1/3 flyer. It gets plus X plus O, where X is the number of other creatures you control with base power 1. Creature spells you cast have Offspring 2. For a reminder, Offspring 2 says when you cast a creature, you can pay 2 and you get a copy of it, except it's a little baby 1/1, so it's extra cute, but you get ETBs, perhaps other static abilities that you might like, and this particular deck wants to create tons of tokens, double dipping on powerful ETBs the whole way through, and then kind of just winning with sheer numbers. It doesn't even really overrun, which is maybe its one weakness. It just says, here's 41 ones. Die.
I'd also like to point out that Zinnia gets to be very big. It's a flying commander, and if you're doing the thing that it wants to do, which is making 1/1 tokens, Zinnia can easily be a one-hit kill. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, this thing, even in pre-con testing, got up to like a 10-3.
Yeah,
every
very
time.
easily.
Not that hard. The price of this deck, get ready for this, $37.
That's solid.
This is one of the cheapest precons I think is even existing right now, that is even available right now. And this is one of the ones we'd recommend the most. If this was $50, it would still be on here. What a great price for that. Card Kingdom, shoutouts to you. Total value of cards, 101. Probably a similar ratio to what we had before. It's like give or take 3x, it's all right. Average mana value 3.56.
But there's some awesome cards in here, including the first one that is a new card from this precon. It's Agate Instigator. This is a little guy. He'll come in, and when creatures come in, he'll ping each opponent for 1, but you can also offspring him because he has that text on him. So just for 2, so you can get a secondary copy, and I've played him in Perforos, I've played him in combo decks, and he is so good. He's so solid.
This is a Commander staple, and I think this is $4 or $5 already by itself. This card is one of the ways this deck will go over the top, and so I think the best cards in this deck, not coincidentally, are the win cons, because we're a little short on them. So these ones are going to really stand out from the rest and push things through. I mean, getting 3 Agate Instigators, 2 of which I think trigger right away, is just very silly. That's going to end the game real fast. Junkwinder. Shout out to our editor, Chris. He loves Junkwinder. This will lock down the entire board, especially when you have 2 Junkwinders, one of which sees itself enter.
Junkwinder is a card that is so good. It is so budget. It's never going to be the 7 mana that it costs on it. And it's going to be so unfun for your opponents. I've iced down so many things with Junkwinder.
Sorry.
And yeah, no one's enjoying it except for me, because I am making so many things too fast for them to even respond to it.
And one thing you're going to get every time with Junkwinder is it's going to clear the path for Zinnia, who is huge.
Yes.
Almost always, especially when you make a 1/1 Junkwinder. Clears the path, and you're going to clock somebody for 10. So if they got chunked a few in the early game and they're like, okay, I'm walling up, I got blockers, you go token, tap your 4 things, take 10, die.
The next card, Devilish Valet, is known for breaking standard, but it's going to be really good in here. Because you're making so many copies of things, its power is going to double, and you're going to be able to just chunk in for a ton of damage because it has trample on it.
And it's funny you say breaking standard. You mean that in a very literal sense, where it would crash Arena.
Yes.
Because it would get too big, and making 2 of them triggers one of them right away. It means that with Offspring, you get double the effect, and you can maybe get more things. I'm plussing my Elspeth Sun's champion. These guys are going to be able to, honestly, if you untap with them or you play them late enough and get enough mana alongside them to play more creatures, they're going to kill 2 people right away. And that's really strong, really explosive from this deck.
But we have to talk about some of the bad cards in here. The first one being Cut a Deal. There's better card draw out here. We could be putting in things like Welcoming Vampire, or things like even Mentor the Meek and stuff like that. But Cut a Deal, even though we're in white, we still have better card draw than that, and we don't need it.
It's also just like not even a creature. If this was a creature that was like each player draws a card or something, I wouldn't even say it's terrible, because at least it's on theme. You can make more than 1, and it's party time. But I have no clue why the sorcery's in here. Plumecrete Escort can give hexproof. It's not the best when you copy it. How many creatures at a time of yours are going to be under fire? This feels more like hey, this is from the main set. Check out the main set if you want to upgrade the precon, and we don't want this card.
I feel like the only creature that you're going to have that comes under fire a lot is the people who ping, like the Agate Instigators.
Or Zinnia.
Because that is the one that is just churning out all of these 1/1s. Everything else I feel like is like, well, there's 2 of them anyway, so do I really need too much hexproof?
Yeah, and one of the OG precon cards from a while ago, I think, Illusory Ambusher, 5 mana 4/1 flash, and when it's dealt damage, you draw that many cards. One of these, this card's either terrible or it's a fun story, but I don't think having a second one for 2 more mana is going to change the math on that. You're going to draw 3 cards off this and go, oh, that wasn't worth it.
It just feels out of place in here, and it also feels like it should have been left, with a Zetalpa back in the day.
Way before that. I think this is from 2015 or something.
Well, everything should have been left back there, including Zetalpa.
Zetalpa should go time travel back to 2015. Most valuable card, Helm of the Host, which is surprisingly $13. That one card alone is a third of the deck's price, which makes me feel even better if I wanted to buy this thing.
I also think it's funny because Helm of the Host is one of the cards where everyone thinks of it as oh, that was a good card back in the day. But Zinnia is a better way to be able to copy your stuff.
Yeah.
If you want these ETVs, Helm of the Host isn't even that good in this deck because you're able to copy things for a lot cheaper with your commander overall.
Yeah, and it's worth saying because we only talk about the most valuable card, but this deck also has Agate Instigator and Polywog Prodigy in it. Polywog Prodigy is $10, and Agate Instigator is, I think, like I said, 5-ish. So what are we doing? We have 3 cards, and that's over half the value of this deck. This precon is packing heat in all the best ways. This is also just one of the best built and cheapest precons you could possibly buy.
There's also just really good synergy within this. There are so many creatures, it feels good to play. I feel like there aren't too many cards that stick out like Cut a Deal where you're like, oh, well, this is a creature deck. Why would I be playing this? And all the ETBs are good on them too, so you want to double them. It actually makes you want to have Zinnia out.
Yeah, and even though we hate Cut a Deal, the worst case scenario with Cut a Deal is you just play it, and you get your cards back. It's not like Ghostly Prison or Curse of Opulence where they just suck and some board states they do nothing. At least it'll always do a little something. It's not the most embarrassing play in the world, even though we like to complain about it. This deck also has 4 board wipes in it, and 2 of them are one-sided in the Calamity of Cinders, I think, where you can tap your creatures and then deal damage to the untapped creatures. And the other one, you'll have to go on Moxfield to find because it's a test for you. But 2 one-sided board wipes is pretty sweet.
You're going to be making so many creatures with this because of that Offspring. You're going to have time to dig for your answers because you're going to be the one making the board stall. And you're also going to be swinging with Zinnia if they don't have flyers, and that will take people out.
Yeah, you're going to be gumming up the board, which is nice, which means you're going to have chump blocks for days. You don't care, or you're going to block and flicker something, or you're blocking with a 1/1 baby. Don't think about them like a baby when you're blocking with them, just when you're looking at the cute little art. But this deck could use a few more overruns because I feel like you're hitting with Zinnia, you're hitting with Devilish Valet, you're locking things down with Junkwinder, you're direct damaging them with Agate Instigator, or you just hope to have enough 1/1s. There's not a lot of pumps. You could maybe swap out the 3 cards that we suggested for just 3 ways to pump your team, and then you're good to go.
Moonshaker, the Toy Maker's Doll Shop, whatever, those will be solid in here.
Those will be great.
The 4th deck on here is one of our favorite color combinations. It's Golgari with Squirreled Away. The face commander is Hazel of the Root Bloom, 2 black-green for a 3/5. If you tap her and pay 2 life, you also tap X untapped tokens that you control. Add X mana in any combination of colors. At the beginning of your end step, you create a token that's a copy of target token you control. If it's a squirrel, though, you create 2 tokens of it.
Yeah, this is another one of the Bloomborough Precons. It was a good batch of decks. They also had Bellow, and could you name the last one?
No.
No, but it had Bellow, and I'm sorry to the last deck because I'm sure it was good. We're just blanking on it right now. Look, like we said,
Chris, put it here.
We're not sleeping tonight. We are up on infinite energy drinks to make this video. But this is a very solid token maker's deck. It's got aristocrat sub-themes. You want to land some tokens before you cast Hazel so that next turn she's going to tap and make a bunch of mana. You only lose 2 life no matter how many tokens you have, which is nice. And it's got card advantage. And this deck, unlike the Zinnia Precon, has overruns for days. We can pump our squirrels and our tokens to attack with them.
I feel like Hazel can go in so many different directions, so if you do want to upgrade it or just play it as it is, there are a lot of ways you can take it. The price of this deck is $65, but the total value of cards is $115. Not as good as the Zinnia one in terms of ratio, but it's still okay to have that price in terms of doubling.
At least we're hitting it, and this is a unit of a deck. You have a lot going on. There are maybe 1 or 2 slight weaknesses, but other than that, this is one of those decks that people look at over your shoulder and go like, whoa, that was a crazy play. How did you pull that off? And you're like, this is the deck that came in the box. I didn't have to do anything to have these crazy draws. The average mana value is 3.31, so a little under what I would say maybe the Precon average is, like 3.6, 3.7. So all these decks are good for the curve. Best cards in the deck, love my boy Belladros Witherbloom. Hazel is perfect for ramping into him on turn 5 after you untap with her, and then he just gives you so many tokens, or she does. She gives you so many tokens, plus a way to just untap all your lands again, and that's just too much mana.
Plume of the Forbidden is going to give you death triggers. It's going to give you card draw. It's going to be for very little mana, so you're able to take those creature tokens, you're able to use them for mana, and then sack them for the card draw too. That feels really good when you're able to get that combo off.
The more I play with this card, the more I think it can hang in higher power decks. This card is kind of silly. The cost is just what you have on board. It doesn't escalate the cost for mana. You only ever pay 2 mana, and the effect you could get off this is nuts. Pun intended, I guess. Plus, you can always just cycle it for 2 mana if it's not doing anything. Unlike Stinky Village Rites, which needs the creature in play. You could just play Plum for 2.
Swarmware Massacre is also a new one in this deck, but is very welcome in all of those creature types that don't get enough love, including squirrels, which I think gets enough love, but also
spiders.
Yeah, spiders, rats are in there too, right? Something like that.
I thought I was getting a whole set full of spiders, and I did. And like 2 of them are going in my Spider Kinder deck. I was so mad. So Swarmware Massacre, I'll just play that card and be happier in my Spider deck. How about the worst cards?
Oh, Maelstrom Pulse is one of them. I feel like we see this in every single Golgari Precon that can run it, and I'm always angry to see it. This does not feel like a card that should be being put into a Precon in 2024.
Essentially what this tends to be is like a weird meta call for when you play the Precons against each other, and it's supposed to be able to kill 2 creatures from the Zinnia deck because you offspring them, or all of the tokens from something else. It's just, this card's never good. 3 mana sorcery, kill 1 thing, which is almost always what it is bad. Garruk, Cursed Huntsman, is an expensive planeswalker. We don't love planeswalkers, and this is one of the ones that we don't love because it doesn't do enough right away. If you have a sack outlet, maybe? No, you still can't ultimate him right away. It's just awkward. But if you can get the ultimate, it's great.
Also, we are in Golgari, which means we have land ramp tutors. We have Hazel to be making mana, so why are we playing Golgari and Arcane Signet in here? We're not hurting for colors. We don't need our artifacts in our Golgari deck. Get that out of here.
Yeah, like it works. They make mana. Some of the games you won't even know the difference, but it's just percentage points. You're just losing percentage points because it should just be Nature's Lore or whatever other 2-mana thing. The most valuable card from the deck is actually 2. We got Saw in Half and Skull Clamp, both 750. So a nice little boost in our strongest cards. It's good to have some value in the deck that, hey, in case we get bored, take it apart, move stuff around, we got some $7 cards in here.
I'm also just happy to see Saw in Half being lower than $10. I remember when it was in Infinity and it was one of the only legal cards in there and it was spiking and you're like, I don't even like this card. Why is it $20?
Yeah,
but $7.50 feels a lot better if you want to experiment with it or just take it out of your precon and try it on something else.
Because it's not even that good. It's more fun than good. So I want to have a more fun price than $20, which we have now. Reason we like the deck, it has tons of great reprints. The ones we can't cover, we can't go into all of them, but at the time of recording, the 5 best reprints in the deck were worth $73. That is a good job of what this precon was trying to do. That is amazing. Belladros is one of them. That's like a $4 card now. Did you know that?
It is?
Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that. Belladros is an awesome card, and it goes in so many decks. This precon is also awesome in terms of art and vibes. It just feels like it's all in the same world. I feel like some precons or just decks overall that are pre-made just don't feel that way, but except for Academy Manufacturer, sorry, buddy.
Yeah, that doesn't fit in.
The rest feel like they're in this Bloomborough, like, fun world and just fantasy and animals. It
It's
feels
like
good.
this wooded vibe, we're sort of scavenging off of like decaying like wildlife. It's really cool. You're like stashing away the nuts. Even like, I gotta say, even Golgari Signet looks right at home in this deck. I like that it gives me a cool vibe and it feels cohesive and it's not really shattering my immersion that much. That's not like the biggest thing with the precon, but it's something you don't feel with many precons ever. So I'm happy that this just kind of feels like its own little, like a storybook kind of.
Also, let's talk about that exotic orchard that's in here. The new art for it is really nice in the Bloomborough precons. Check it out if you haven't already.
Not that I don't like the Conflux one, but it's been printed like 3 billion times.
Let's get some new art in here. This is happy. This is a welcome surprise.
Absolutely. And this deck has some unique features among precons. They almost never, there's only maybe 2 or 3 precons ever that have had free sack outlets. And we've got Woe Strider. And usually you don't see that, which makes the cards that like some of these great aristocrat payoffs like Bastion of Remembrance and Poison Tip Archer, like twice as good. The whole reason those cards are scary is because at any point you can machine gun your entire team into direct damage. And that's not true for most precons because they have like, pay 1 sack a creature, pay 3 sack a creature. This deck has those too, but I love that it has Woe Strider. I love that it's going to be able to use things like Plumb the Forbidden, sack them all at once, Fireball, end the game. That does take the deck up notches power-wise.
Overall, this deck is also better at ending the game than a lot of precons, especially Family Matters. There are 4 ways to pay off going wide, which makes it like very efficient in ending the game.
Yeah, it's got Beastmaster Ascension, End-Race Forerunners. There's some squirrel buffs going on. There's a lot to like here, and it means that if you get to the late game, you have a bunch of draws that can just end things if the board gets too stalled. The only thing I think this deck is lacking in is maybe the early game. There's not a ton. There's a few, obviously, but there's not enough early token makers, I think, for you to always pop off on turn 5 after you play Hazel on turn 4. I would just, maybe if you cut the cards we don't like from the deck, add 2 or 3 ways to just make 2 tokens on turn 2. Nothing crazy, even just Sapling Migration, that would go a long way to making Hazel go crazy and let you cast Belladros Wither Blooms all day long. Overall,
this is a very solid deck, and I highly recommend you pick it up.
Going on to our next precon, which is also our oldest precon on the list today. It's the Phantom Premonition deck led by Raynar, the Ever Watchful. He is 2 blue, white for a 2/3 flying vigilance spirit. The first card you foretell each turn costs 0 to foretell. Can you tell this is from the Kaldheim decks? Whenever one or more cards are put into exile from your hand or a spell or ability you control, exiles 1 or more permanents from the battlefield. Create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. Kind of a wordy ability, but if you flicker something, if you foretell something, if you exile something from the battlefield, you get a 1/1 spirit. And the thing to remember about Raynar is that that's not once per turn. So we can do this 2, 3 times. I think if you've got a tuned upgraded deck, watch out because you're going to do it like 6 times a turn. But scaling down to the precon level, you're going to get like 2 or 3 flyers a turn, which is really annoying. These are great for chump blockers. And we're going to be using, this is a weird deck. It's got a lot of things mixed together. We're going to be using blink effects to get the most out of ETB triggers, which will also trigger Raynar, who then wants spirits. So we have some spirit payoffs, we have some flying payoffs, and foretell, like, all mixed together in this weird brew of a deck.
I know it seems pretty surprising when you look at the list, but it plays out better than you'd really think because you are making so many spirits. I feel like if we saw this list like just as a vanilla list, we'd be like, oh, this seems really like mismatched. But this is pretty solid. The price is $45 and the total value is $84 of the cards. So it's okay. It's
standard.
It's all right.
It's not blowing anyone's mind, but it's definitely standard. The average mana value, we're a little clunkier because these cards have foretell, and you're going to be getting the discount and paying in installments, but it's 3.98, so a little heavy there. But this deck, like you said, it's an older precon. It has a little bit of the warts from that era of like, yeah, there's probably a few too many foretell cards in here. But guess what? If you buy the deck for $45, it's still a functional deck, and you can take out all the foretell cards if you don't care about that, because Raynar doesn't need that to happen. Take out the foretell cards, put in some more blink, and then the deck's like twice as good. So there's definitely a room for upgradability. You could upgrade this deck for like $2 to make it, if you really don't want to have the foretell cards, but it still functions with them. They're just kind of like, oh, it's from Kaldheim, and it's a little bit worse than something I would play otherwise.
There's so many creatures that are cheap with good ETB abilities that you could be putting in here if you want to go the blink route. And if you want to go the foretell route, it's a little bit more janky, but that's okay.
Yeah,
but
good luck with that one.
There's some solid cards in here. First one being Brago, King Eternal. He's going to hit. You're going to get those ETB triggers again. And I think there are a lot of solid ETB triggers in this deck overall.
Yeah, resetting your whole team, both to give them pseudo-vigilance and then to re-trigger all their ETBs. You will get one spirit off of this. Great consolation prize, super sweet. Restoration Angel can save something. There's not really that many angels in here, which is great for us. It lets us save something at instant speed, get a spirit. Maybe we surprise them. By now we have 2 extra flying bodies, and that sort of stuff just adds up. Sun Titan, also in here. Great card. Great with anything you discard, anything you mill. Do we have to talk about Sun Titan? I don't know. I've been talking about Sun Titan since like 2019.
So Sun Titan is a solid card. And Soul Herder. I feel like this is a staple in so many Blink decks, so I'm very happy to see him in here. I feel like some of the staples sometimes get left out, but this one has the Resto Angel, the Soul Herder, the Flicker Wisp. I'm happy to see them in this deck.
Plus, most decks don't really... I think most decks can't trigger Soul Herder as much as this one can. It's like weirdly, this is the Exile deck, and he has that weird Exile ability. So that's just a fun little overlap. Worst cards... We mentioned it before. Guess what? Windfall's in here, but if you buy the deck, it shouldn't be. So cut it, and you won't lose games.
And we're also having Day of the Dragons in here. This is expensive. This requires you to have a team. I don't like this card. Get it out of here.
So, hot take. I don't think this is the worst card. I think you should still take it out, but you just put something in that is similar where this kind of fills the role of like an overrun because all your creatures are somewhat expendable. If you take this out, which you probably should, put in another Anthem effect or Overone. And then Ghostly Prison. A double whammy. Is it because it says Ghost on it, Wizards? Is it because it says Ghost?
They're spirits. They're not ghosts.
Spiritly Prison.
Think about it for a second. Ghostly Prison, also precon card, get it out of here, blah, blah, blah. Even though it is one of the more expensive cards in here, still take it out.
Sell it. Go sell it for like $3. Next is the most valuable card, which is Eerie Interlude, surprisingly. This is a $10 card. I thought it was $5.
Yeah.
And even then, I thought that was high.
I mean, it's a good card. People love to flicker their stuff. They love to save their stuff. People feel really good when they're able to save their stuff and then also re-get those ETVs. Not surprised to see it up here.
Yeah, I mean, this is what? This is almost 20% of the deck's value. Pretty sweet off that. And it is a blowout when you can respond to a board wipe. It feels like a better Teferi's Protection in a lot of cases when you can get this off against a board wipe.
This feels really good, and I feel like people aren't as angry at that when you cast it because TP, they're like, oh, you're casting TP, that's not fun. But
they'll be like, oh no.
They're okay, and you can use it a little proactively too.
You definitely could. Just get those triggers again, get those spirits, really sweet. This deck is evasive. Now, one thing about this deck when you play at the Precon bracket 2.5 level is you're going to get a lot of free hits because a lot of your stuff just has flying. This is a pseudo flyers deck, and that's good. That's noteworthy. World Shaper Precon is not getting free hits in. Squirreled Away is not getting free hits in. This deck is getting all the free hits.
And then when you have all these flyers, there's 6 ways to pump flyers within this deck. So are you getting those free hits? Yeah, but are you getting bigger ones if you have these Anthem type effects? Also, yes.
We're chunking with this. And this is just an interesting combination, sort of similar to the World Shaper deck, where you're not going to see this exact confluence of things on other Precons. So you're going to get Blink, Foretelling, and Flying Matters. I think it comes together nicely. Sure. You got a couple cards that say 5 mana, give your team +2/+1, and it has Foretell, and you wish it was something else. But that card is honestly still functional. You still could just play a 3 mana little Anthem for the turn and kill somebody with it. It's very doable.
It's not burning a hole in your hand. As we mentioned earlier, Raynar does not trigger only once each turn. So if you can keep foretelling stuff, if you can keep blinking stuff, you'll get more and more spirits, and that gets really annoying for your opponents very quickly.
And that's going to make them want to kill Raynar because they're seeing you get 2 spirits a turn or something. But This deck has extra built-in ways to protect him in a very annoying way with blinking him. We got Momentary Blink, Ghostly Flicker, etc. Eerie Interlude we just mentioned. So when they try to kill him, you go, okay, no, blink him, blink something else, and then get spirits, and then they're just like, back to square one. It's like a nice way to have like pseudo counter spells that also advance your board a little bit. Kind of cool.
It's solid. I really like this deck. I like it more than I thought I would, honestly.
We got some solid precons here. I hope you go get them from Card Kingdom. They're really great. If you want to watch more nitpicking nerds, well, we just did a video about the 2026 Magic the Gathering schedule. Let's talk about it.